Hello everyone, welcome to the 20th iOS tutorial. In this tutorial, we will learn how to draw something on canvas, something custom. And we will learn some types, Cstruct types, which is CG float, CG point, CG size, or CG rect. And some view properties, which are bound, center, frame. And also some useful and related APIs, which is RoundedRect, UIBezierPath, and away from name. So let's move on. Okay, let's talk about Cstruct type. Don't scare about the name Cstruct types. It's really simple. We have CG float. It's just type of float, but we're just using it for drawing. So CG float is just a float type, but it's for just drawing. And we can define it exactly like here, CG float or the float type name, and then the number that we want to specify. We have also CG point. It specifies a point inside of the view. So a point in a view requires x and y, and this is the coordinate of that point. So we can specify x and y, and these x and y should be type of CG float, which is maybe 12.6 or whatever number that you want. You just put two numbers here, and you create the point via this useful method, which is called CG point make. If you want to make a point, we use this method, and we just specify the x and y, and it represent a point inside of the view. We have CG size. It represents a size which is width and height, and we can create it with this useful method, which is CG size make, and we give it just width and height, which is CG float. For example, if I say CG size make 20, 20, it will create a size for me with width and height of 20. We have CG rect, and we can specify x, y, width and height, and it represent and specify a rectangle for us with this method, CG rect make. And it gets 4 arguments, which are x, y, width, height, and all of this should be type CG float. Or we can add numbers, which is maybe 20 by 20 and 0.20, x20, y20, and width 30, 30. So it will draw a rectangle, and not drawing, it just specify a rectangle with width and height and this x and y. So this is just types, and it's really simple. We have some view properties, and it will make sense when we go to the view and look at the view and write some code. But here the explanation of bounds, center, and frame. And just to make it a little bit simple, I just add a picture. Then you can specify what are the difference between especially bounds and frame, because it's a little bit confusing, but center is really simple. It's just the center of your views in your super views coordinates. So if you look at this picture, and the coordinates of the view starts from 0, 0, and it goes to the x. If we increase the x, it goes this way, and if we increase the y, it goes this way. So for example, the point 140, 65 is here. This is 140x, and 65 down y. So here the difference between bounds, frame, and center. The bounds has x and y. If we look at here, x and y 0, which is here, x and y. And width and height, we have width 200 and height 250. But look at the frame. The frame of this rectangle starts from 140 and 65, which is here in a super view, and the width and height is 320 by 320. It just shows, because we rotate this view, the frame includes the all of rotation. But for bounds, we just had 200 by 250. But for frame, we have 320 by 320. And for center, it is really simple. The center, based on the super view, so see, look at this, is 300 by 225. It's the center of the super view. Here are the really simple example of differences between bounds and frame and center. And we have steps to draw something in the canvas. We will go back to this slide when we want to draw, but just an overview. We add the DrawRect method in .m file, and it will automatically call it. You don't have to call this method. It's completely illegal to call this method by ourselves. If we want to call this method, we should use other things, not DrawRect. So we just don't have to call this method. It will be called automatically by the system. Then we have to create an instance of UIBezierPath, and then we define our path, and then we set stroke and fill. It will make sense when we go back to the slides and go step by step. So let's move on. Like always, I show you the final product here. So we want to draw something like this, a triangle, which is custom, filled with green color and red stroke, and also a RoundedRect rectangle, which is red. And that's it. That's all we want to do and draw on the canvas. So let's go on. Okay, let's create a new project, a single view, and call it drawing, if I can spell it. And next, create. And so go to the storyboard, and because we want to draw something custom view, you have to look for the custom UI view, but it's not, of course, contain the triangle that we just want to create, but it has a generic UI view. In order to search it, we just have to come down and search here for UI view, and it has this generic UI view. So we just have to drag and drop it in our storyboard. Right now I just put it in the middle or center and just leave it as is. That's it. Then in order to create a view, we need a new file. So we have to create a new file, new file in Objective-C, and the super view subclass should be UI view, and we call it custom shape. Custom, or maybe triangle shape. And next we save it, and it creates .h and .m file. So in .m file, if we go back to the steps, add DrawRect method in .m file. So we have to add DrawRect method inside of this. So compiler will help us and say void DrawRect. So whatever we want to draw, we have to put it inside of this method. What is the next step of drawing? It's create an instance of UIBezierPath. So we have to initialize and allocate memory. So UIBezierPath, we call it triangle path, and equals UIBezierPath alloc and init, like other initializations. And then what is the next step? We have to define our custom path. Which point of the view we want to start, and which point we want to go to which point. For example, if we want to draw a rectangle, it should start, for example, from here and then go here and then come here and then go up. So it creates a rectangle. So we have to define this path by some view in some points inside of the view. So we say triangle path, and we use this method which is called move to point, and now it needs the CG point. And I told you we can create a point with a method called CG_point_make. So CG_point_make, and now it needs the X and Y, which is type CG float. So I will give it to 25 for X and 10 for Y. So you can give another number. This is my custom number. Then from this point, I want to go to another point or add a line. We have another method called add line. So add line to point. Again, we need a CG point. And CG point make. This time, I want to add a line from point 120 and to 140. X is 120, Y 140. Then I want to add another line. So add line to point. Again, we have to use CG point make, and different X and Y. So I prefer to go to the 7 and 120 for Y. Then we can go to the first point, which we start here, or we can say, okay, close the path. We have a path here, for example, here. It starts from here, go here, and then here, and then we can say, okay, add a line to here, but we can say also close this path, and it will automatically close it for us by using this method, which is called close path. So I would say triangle path, close path, and that's it. So what is the next step? So we define a path. Now we have to set stroke and fill. So you just specify what color we want to fill and what color we want to have stroke or add a border. So we have to specify a color, UI color. Here I say green color, and we say set fill. Set fill. This is the filling color. But for border, the UI color, we say red color, set stroke. Okay. By this time, we have not yet draw this triangle. But by these two lines, triangle path, fill, and also triangle path, stroke, now we did something. So let's just run it and see if it's working. Of course it's not working. I will tell you why. If we go to if we see yes, it's 3.5. Let's change it to 4-inch. Then there's another emulator is using that 4-inch. Okay, let's play it and see. There's nothing here. Why? What happened? This is a common mistake that everybody would do it. We create the custom UI view and put it inside of the storyboard, but we didn't define a class for it. Right now, if you go to this identity inspector, it's still generic UI view, but we have to set it to the one that we just created, which is triangle shape. Now we can run it and see if it's working. See? Now it shows that triangle. It's so simple. Now we want to add that RoundedRect to the canvas. So first of all, we have to shrink this view to the middle of the screen and put another view which is not that big, just like this. And then make sure that you go to this view and add this button, which, let me show you the description of this button. It says resolve auto layout, and then set reset to suggested constraint in view controller. Just do this. I will tell you all of the constraints of the view in the future, but just for right now, just select the view controller when the controller comes blue, and then say okay, reset to suggested, and then don't worry about anything else. Now if we run the program, we don't see anything by the white color, but if I make the background color of this view to red and run it, we can see we have another view here. So we want to have a rounded rect here. Let's do it. In order to have it, we have to create another file for specifying the custom view. So another file, Objective-C class. This time we call it rect or RoundedRect. And it should be a subclass of UI view. Next, create, and I create two files, .h and .m file. We again do the same path, same steps, and we just have to add drawRect method. So let's just cheat from here. Add drawRect. Let's copy paste it inside of here, but we don't need these lines, just a method. And now we can use some useful methods in UIBezierPath. One of the useful methods is RoundedRect. So let's create an instance UIBezierPath, and we call it RoundedRect, and equal to UIBezierPath Bezier BezierPath with RoundedRect, and it needs a CG float, CG rect, which I show you. You have to specify a rectangle. What rectangle we want to have a rounded rect? But for us, we want to have the whole rectangle. The whole rectangle. How we can specify? Okay, we want the whole rectangle. The bounds, the property that I told you, which is called bounds. So instead of specifying a CG rect, we said okay, our CG rect is our bounds. So self.bounds. And corner radius, it needs some CG float that specify a corner radius. We can tweak with this number. For example, for right now I just put 12, but you can change this number to whatever you want for your view. So for here it needs, oh, we forgot this star here. Now we say RoundedRect add clip. I didn't say this method add clip, but clip will just clip all of the view inside of your rect. For example, if you have something outside of it, it will not show it. It just show inside of the rect. So we will use this with just make sure that it's inside of our rectangle. Now the next step is set. Because we don't have any path, we just have to RoundedRect. We go to the next step, which is set stroke and fill. We say UI color, red color, and set fill. And UI rect fill. Rect fill, and we fill it. We want to fill the whole bounds. This is another method that we can use to fill all of the our rectangle. So we say self.bounds, and also we need to set the stroke. We could specify it here, but we say UI color. I call it black color and set stroke. Okay, now let's run it and see if it's, I'm sure it's not working. We don't have any RoundedRect here, but why is it like this? First of all, we have to go to the storyboard, same mistake that we did before, and then select our view and go into the Identity Inspector tab here, and then select our class. It's right now a generic class, but we have to say the class that we created, RoundedRect. Now, again, if we run the program, we will not see anything that changed. But why is it like that? If I select here and then go to the Attribute Inspector, we have a background which is red. If I change it to clear color, here, clear color, and then this opaque, and change this text check mark, it was like this, checked, I was unchecked it, and then run the application. See, now it goes on. Why? Because we had a background color which was red, and we RoundedRect set fill with red again, and that background color didn't didn't allow us to view the RoundedRect. So it was kind of like having background color red and having the rectangle red, and that's why we couldn't see it. And also we need to uncheck this opaque. We can do this with code. Programmatically we can do it. If I go back here, and you can do Control Z to undo, and then go back here. We have a method that is called awake from nib, and it's called automatically. It's kind of like view did load. It's not like this, but just to show you, it will automatically call it. It's called awake from nib. So let's call this method void awake. See, the compiler helped me to complete it. Don't scare about the name. It has a story called things that they call it awake from nib. Because we set it from storyboard, we can use this awake from nib. So we can say self.background color. This is the background color that we can set, and we put it to nil or null or nothing. And self.opaque, the one that we unchecked, we can say no. And then if I run it, right now you can see the color, background color, but if I run it, we programmatically do it, and we have a RoundedRect. And that's all. We just created 2 custom views, and we can do thousands of views, custom views, and it's as simple as it is. And watch this video multiple times if you don't understand it. Put your comments below and I will answer it as soon as I see the question. And have a good time. Until next time.